Do you remember that scene in the movie Rain Man? Raymond Babbitt, who was supposed to be autistic, and they were in a restaurant, and the waitress apparently dropped a box of matches on the floor. And Raymond looked at those matches and he counted them instantly. I don't remember how many there were, maybe 200 some odd number, but that was a trait of a person who is a savant. They're able to do amazing things like that. Now, the reason I say that is because a lot of people think that those of us with Asperger syndrome or autism are just savants. We have these amazing abilities. And I would like to think that I do, but the truth is I don't. Well, hang on a second. Maybe actually I do. Now, think through this with me. As I contemplate what Raymond did in that movie, which was obviously not real, but some people can do that, it occurred to me that, yeah, actually I can do that. I mean, you can too. Everyone can do it. Everybody can do what Raymond did. How so? I say everybody, virtually everybody. I'm thinking a newborn baby probably can't do that, but virtually everybody can count matches by looking at them if somebody drops them on the floor. Can you do that? Yeah, you can. Now, to understand this principle, is I want you to imagine there is a dump truck. It was full of matches. Not a matchbox, but a whole dump truck full of matches, and the dump truck dumps all the matches on the parking lot, spreads them out so that no two are on top, well, so that none of them are hidden, so you can see them at first glance. And then you take a savant, somebody like the character Raymond or Rain Man, and have them count those matches at first glance. The chances are they can't do it. I don't think there is anyone who could do that. So the principle here is there is an upper limit. So somebody like Raymond, yeah, he can count those matches, but, there is an upper limit. Well, the same principle applies to you, right? Seriously? Yeah. Now, say, for example, somebody were to drop 3 matches on the floor. Could you count those? I mean, would you just look at them and know how many are there? Yeah, you don't have to count them and say, okay, there's 3, I see them. You walk into a room and there's 4 chairs in the room. You don't have to count them, there's 4 chairs. Well, what if you walk into an auditorium and there are hundreds of chairs? You can't count those at first glance, right? So you have, like Raymond, you have an upper limit. All right, let's say somebody drops 7 matches on the floor. You could probably glance at those and say, look, there's 7 matches on the floor. Okay, what if there's 70? Nah, you can't do that. So somewhere between 7 and 70 is your limit. Well, the point of all this is that everyone can do what Raymond did. Everybody is a limited savant to some point. Even a person like Raymond has their limitations, right? So you could look at a tree, and how many leaves are on that tree? Well, I don't think a savant could tell you. Well, first of all, some of the leaves will be hidden, so that's really not a fair principle. But the reason we're talking about this is we need to understand that those of us with Asperger syndrome, with autism, sometimes we're misunderstood. Sometimes people have this weird notion that just by virtue of the fact that we are autistic, that we have these special powers, we have these special abilities as savants. And the fact of the matter is, well, maybe. Some of us do, some of us don't. And I think there are some savants, believe it or not, who are not autistic. Very possibly. Okay, so what are your superpowers? Your superpowers are not being a savant, unless you are a savant, which is probably highly unlikely, but your superpowers are that you are a special person. You are designed by nature to be exactly who you are. You have your own unique features, and that is your superpower. So what are your superpowers as a person who is autistic? Well, we could just think of them off the top of our heads. You probably, if you're high-functioning autistic, Asperger syndrome, you have an average or higher IQ. You're a smart person. You tend to be contemplative. You tend to be highly organized. You are dependable. You are you are very honest. And these don't apply to every single person who is autistic or has Asperger syndrome, but by and large, these are the characteristics that we see. And because we tend to be a little bit socially isolated, okay, that's an understatement. Because we tend to be socially isolated, maybe not a little bit, but quite a bit, that does translate into a superpower because it gives us a different perspective. When you are in the middle of a crowd, you see something that is very different from somebody, say, for example, who is looking down at a crowd from a tall building, from a window in a tall building. You see a totally different perspective. Well, people with Asperger syndrome, we tend to be those who are, I hate to say a higher level because that sounds a little bit arrogant, but we're kind of on a higher level. And we're looking down at the crowd and we can see a different perspective. We can see movement, we can see how people work and interact with each other, and they can't see it because they are so close together. So the fact that we are not intertwined socially with a lot of people, maybe we have a few close friends, close family, but intertwined with a lot of people, the fact that we can't really get along in the workplace, not because we're bad people, but because others don't understand us, put the blame on them, right? That's a superpower because we can see what is happening, the social structuring in the workplace, the social climbing, the way that people fight each other. We can see that and they can't see it. They're so close to it. They are part of it. They don't see what is going on. So yeah, you may not be a savant. You may not be able to count a couple hundred matchsticks. Who cares? You can count 7. That's good enough. But you still have these, not savant, but you still have these superpowers that work very well for you, and that makes you unique. That makes you a special person. Doesn't make you narcissistic, doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you special. And the thing about being special is everyone's special, right? We all have our unique abilities and our unique deficits. So everyone is an individual. We're all special. Embrace your identity. Embrace who you are. See those 2 rectangles on the screen? Let's keep talking if you want. Just click one of those 2 rectangles and the conversation will continue. If not, thanks for stopping by and we will see you all next time.